The impact of peer pressure to decision-making skills of grade 12 ABM students of Phinma University of Pangasinan, school year 2019 to 2020. The study aimed to explain the impact of peer pressure to decision-making skills of grade 12 ABM students of Phinma University of Pangasinan. Particularly, the study aimed to know the profile of the respondents in terms of age, sex, and peer pressure experiences. It also aimed to know the level of the respondents' decision-making skills and the significant relationship between peer pressure and decision-making skills of the respondents.
The study focused on the impact of peer pressure to the decision-making skills. Data gathered in the research were obtained at Phinma University of Pangasinan during the first semester of academic year 2019 to 2020. It covers grade 12 ABM 03A student of Phinma University of Pangasinan. Each of the respondents were given the same questionnaire to answer. The study limits its coverage on a grade 12 ABM 03A student only. The main purpose was to identify the impact of peer pressure to the decision-making skills of the grade 12 student and provide solution for the problem.
Peer pressure is often seen during the adolescent stage of teenagers because they often seek comfort among their peers and intended to do what their peers does, without knowing if it is good or bad for them. Adolescence is a period of an individual that is transitory when a child reaches the point in changing his childhood to adulthood. Thus, individuals are prone to temptations in the social contextualization concepts. For example, socializing with others tend to do some activities such as napping and drinking during or work day. Decision-making is an important skill to teach to children of all ages, especially adolescents, because they need to grow up to be independent, responsible, and happy adults. Some research has shown that those who are able to evaluate a situation and make a decision are often more successful in life. Different factors will affect their decisions. Learning and using a decision-making and problem-solving process will help teens grow toward their goal. Teens tend to be more conscious and influenced by peers when making decisions. The decision-making skill of an adolescent is highly affected by the pressure they get from their peers. Whenever they wanted to do something, but notice that the people around them does not do it and does the other thing, they tend to just go with the flow. Eventually, this study aimed to know the impact of peer pressure to the grade 12 ABM students and their decision-making skills. High grades and our desire to gain more knowledge and also to help people experiencing peer pressure motivated us to finish the study. As students, we did this study to comply with our requirements, and high grades drive us to work a little harder. We are also teenagers who are always surrounded by our peers who put pressure to us. Having the knowledge from this study can help avoid and overcome the pressure we get.
The findings of the study will immense benefit to the students, teachers, parents, researchers, future researchers, and the public as well. For students, the study may serve as awareness of what can be the impact of peer pressure on the decision-making skills among students if you will give too much into it. For adolescents, the study aimed to help most especially teenagers because they are the ones who are being affected by the issue and are the ones who are most likely to be involved with the said problem. For Phinma University of Pangasinan, the result of the study may help the school be aware of the struggles of making good decisions of its students when they are under pressure. For teachers, the study and its result can be beneficial to them because through this, they may be able to help and guide their students with regards to their decision-making under the presence of peer pressure. For parents, this will help them know how they can deal with their children regarding the peer pressure they get, which affects their decision-making skills. For the public, this study will help the people know that peer pressure has various effects towards the students. For researchers, the outcome of the study will be useful in providing chances of true learning based on the student's need. And for the future researchers, they can gain insights from the result of the study, and they could use this study as a reference material for a comprehensive study.
We use survey questionnaire as an instrument for data gathering. A questionnaire is a research instrument consisting of a series of questions for the purpose of gathering information from respondents.
It was composed of 3 parts. The first part was composed of the profile of the respondents. The second part was composed of the peer pressure experiences of the respondents. And the last part was composed of the decision-making skills of the respondents.
Prior to the conduct of the study, the researchers formulated their title with the help of the research advisor. The researchers used survey questionnaires to gather data needed for the completion of the research. The survey questionnaire was formulated and a letter for the principal and respondents was made to ask permission for the floating of survey questionnaires, which was noted by the research advisor. The survey questionnaires were floated and the results were tallied.
Our study has some limitations. The lack of previous studies about the topic and time constraints. It was hard to look for related studies because the prior studies that are related to our research were limited. We were also challenged by the length of time to be able to finish our study. The solutions were, we divided the workload in looking for related studies and we had a good time management in doing it. That's why we are able to find enough related studies within the given time.
The essence of research was to find knowledge and add to the existing body of knowledge. Research questions help provide the focus for where the research starts. It will be a tool for people's deeper understanding about peer pressure and its effect to decision-making skills.
High grades and our desire to gain more knowledge and also to help people experiencing peer pressure motivated us to finish the study. As students, we did this study to comply with our requirements, and high grades drive us to work a little harder. We are also teenagers who are always surrounded by our peers who put pressure to us. Having the knowledge from this study can help avoid and overcome the pressure we get.
The study focused on the impact of peer pressure to decision-making skills. Data gathered in the research were obtained in University of Pangasinan. It covers 12 ABM 03A students of University of Pangasinan.
Our study has some limitations. The lack of previous studies about the topic and time constraints. It was hard to look for related studies because the prior studies that are related to our research were limited. We were also challenged by the length of time to be able to finish our study.
The research questions were very interesting, for you will be able to assess yourself just by answering the questions present in our questionnaire. The research questions were very important, for it was the means of gathering information from the respondents, like their profiles, peer pressure experiences, and decision-making.
Google Scholar is free. These sources help us to gather sources and also open our minds to the effects peer pressure can have on one's decision-making skills. We got ideas that help us in finishing our research.
The research methodology that we used was quantitative research. This method was chosen because it provides information and data regarding places.
Our respondents were grade 12 ABM 03 students. There are 52 of them and only 47 were chosen to answer the survey questionnaire. We got the sample size by using Sloven's formula. Fishbowl method of simple random sampling was used to determine the respondents.
In our research paper, we use survey questionnaire as a measurement instrument to gather data and analyze the perspective of our respondents.
The first part of Table 1 depicts the frequency distribution of the male and female respondents of the study. A total of 17.02% of the respondents were male, while 82.98% of the respondents were female. The second part of Table 1 shows the frequency distribution of the range of age of the respondents. It shows that 0% of the respondents were 14 years old and below. On the other hand, 10.64% of the respondents were 15 to 16 years old. Also, a total of 87.23% of the respondents were 17 to 18 years old, and only 2.13% of the respondents were 19 to 20 years old. Lastly, there were only 0% of the respondents who were 21 years old and above. Table 2 shows the frequency distribution of the peer pressure experiences of the respondents. Not reviewing because their friends were also not reviewing was the most common experience among the respondents, which garnered 15.34% of the total response. On the other hand, buying milk tea just to look cool, even low in budget, was the least common experience of the respondents, which only get 10.43% of the total response. The transmitted description of the respondents' decision-making skills was high, with a distributive equivalent of often and 3.75 average weighted mean, as seen on Table 3, as collected by the following indicator statements with their respective weighted mean, descriptive equivalent, and transmitted description. I can decide on my own without relying to others. 3.98, often high. I formulate my decisions based on my personal experiences. 3.83, often high. I am confident with the decisions I make. 3.57, often high. I stick with my decisions even though my friends do not agree with it because I know it was right. 3.68, often and high. My decisions brings positive outcome most of the time. 3.70, often and high. The computed value for person R was negative 0.18, which means the two variables have weak correlation. Therefore, the given statistics on the table provide sufficient evidence for the researchers to reject the null hypothesis. There is a significant impact of peer pressure to decision-making skills of grade 12 ABM students.
The original about our study is the study itself. This is because it was done with our cooperation and efforts combined in collecting data and putting them all together, which resulted to the completion of our study. In line with this, the Chapter 5 of our study, which was composed of the salient findings, conclusions, recommendations, also stand out to be the most original one. This is because it came from the results of our data gathering, which was carried out by the use of questionnaires.
The strongest part of our study was our findings. We can say that it is the strongest part of our study because we obtained the data through the right process. The weakest part of our study, on the other hand, was the related studies. We had the trouble looking for the related study because there are only few studies that were related to our topic. We, the researchers, recommend that parents should maintain good relationship with their child and guide them in developing good decision-making skills for them not to be reliant with their peers. Students should actively participate in seminars and activities focused on improving one's confidence in making decisions and building up with their own personality. Schools should conduct seminars and formulate more projects and programs as regard to peer pressure and decision-making that will actively involve students for them to build connection, boost their self-esteem, and enhance skills, particularly decision-making skills. The researchers recommend that future researchers should use this study as basis conducting the study in another setting to validate the findings for development that may further help students for today and for future.
The findings of the study will immense benefit to the students, teachers, parents, researchers, future researchers, and the public as well. For students, the study may serve as awareness of what can be the impact of peer pressure on the decision-making skills among students if you will give too much into it. For adolescents, the study aimed to help most especially teenagers because they are the ones who are being affected by the issue and are the ones who are most likely to be involved with the said problem. For Phinma University of Pangasinan, the result of the study may help the school be aware of the struggles of making good decisions of its students when they are under pressure. For teachers, the study and its result can be beneficial to them because through this, they may be able to help and guide their students with regards to their decision making under the presence of peer pressure. For parents, this will help them know how they can deal with their children regarding the peer pressure they get, which affects their decision making skills. For the public, this study will help the people know that peer pressure has various effects towards the students. For researchers, this outcome of the study will be useful in providing chances of true learning based on the student's need. And for the future researchers, they can gain insights from the result of the study, and they could use this study as a reference material for a comprehensive study.
The study turned out quite successful, so if we will conduct the study again, we will change nothing.
Research paper is not easy. You need time and focus to be able to finish it. As a researcher, we need patience, perseverance, and determination in all aspects that we were to encounter in making a research paper.
The impact of peer pressure to decision-making skills of grade 12 ABM students of Phinma University of Pangasinan, school year 2019 to 2020.